Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
I would recommend Angel Care to anybody. They have really helped me regain my strength.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible. Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
I couldn't have survived this without Angels Care.
Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks for watching, and thanks to our producer, Jeff Durall. With the Sternberg Museum of Natural History, the Sternberg Museum Outreach Coordinator is our guest on our Community Connection, Ian Trevethan. Ian is the new Outreach Coordinator. What's that all about, Ian?
Well, that entails a lot of stuff. I will not get bored with my job. So what that entails is general public outreach. So that may be education, that may be a little bit of PR. It's basically getting the community interested in what we do here at the museum. The other component of my job will be as the new volunteer coordinator. So what we're hoping to do is to jumpstart our volunteer program, get some new volunteers in here, and sort of reactivate some of the older volunteers who may not be doing much right now.
Well, let's see if we can help you out a little bit and focus on that volunteer. Okay. They're called docents, I guess?
Well, there are some that are called docents, others that generally when I think of a docent, I think of somebody who is able to give tours, who is able to sort of be out in the galleries and answer questions about some of the specimens we have on display. Some of the other volunteers that we might need are people who can work with some of our animals, some of our live animals that we've got, possibly work on helping some fossil prep down the line once we get our fossil lab implemented. I'm hoping we can get some people working on exhibits, and then there will be some special projects throughout the community I'm hoping to put together in the near future that we might actually utilize volunteers for as well.
So a lot of different possibilities.
A lot of different, yes, absolutely.
Time frame. A lot of people like to know, well, how much time commitment would I have to make if I were a volunteer at Sternberg?
Well, you know, being a volunteer means you don't get paid for what you do. So, you know, we can't demand that people be here 40 hours a week. But the more time people have to give, the more I think you get out of it. So if you think of it in terms of an acquired skill or unique acquired skills, you know, we have the ability to offer some really, really unique experience for all sorts of age groups. You know, so if somebody's a retiree and they just aren't done with learning, we've got some wonderful things that we can train people on, as well as somebody, say a high school age kid who wants to kind of go above and beyond what he's learning in biology. We've got a lot to offer in that regard as well. But we also understand that people have lives. So, you know, if it's a weekend day, that's great. We can always do people on the weekend. If it's more in the evening or in the afternoon, great. You know, we'll work around that schedule. The only thing I ask is that, you know, it's a regular schedule, that you know, you don't show up once and decide you hate it.
So anybody who's interested in volunteering, there is a website you can go to get in touch with Ian directly, and that's IJ Trevethan at fhsu.edu.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Okay. Summer exhibits at Sternberg Museum. Let's talk about hours, first of all, for those who might want to visit the museum during the summer. We're
generally open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays and 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Sundays. So those will be our summer hours.
And admission?
Admission, that's just escaped me, so we'll have to double check on the website.
All right,
sure.
but at the front desk they can tell you.
At the front desk they can tell you.
Costs. Okay, summer exhibits then. A lot to see, including this monster behind us here.
Right.
Titanoboa?
Titanoboa, yes.
What's that all about, Ian?
So this is a recreation or reconstruction, rather, of a 60-million-year-old snake. So this animal is possibly the world's largest snake to date. Now they think they might have discovered something that might be a little bit bigger, but that's to be determined yet. They're still working on that. But as it sits, this is the largest snake known. So this animal was a constrictor, and as you can see, he's swallowing what's left of looks like an alligator or a crocodile there. So this would have been an animal that lived in what is now South America. And they actually weren't sure what it was when they found it. They were thinking it was a crocodile when they found it. And it was actually some grad students who actually specialized in crocodilians that looked at the bones and they went, wow, this is not crocodile. And then their advisors and other scientists started to look at it and realized that this is in fact a snake.
It was in Colombia, is that right?
Yes.
And was fossilized, found in a mine, is that right?
Right, I believe so.
Wow.
And many fossils actually have been discovered that way. And
60 million
60
years
million.
old.
So just after the dinosaurs are gone. So you have a lot of these animals, you know, there's sort of open space, open niches where the dinosaurs once were sort of the apex predator. Now you have it wide open for some of these other animals to kind of fill those top predator niches. And this is what, you know, this guy was doing. That's how he got so big. And you can see he was pretty good at what he did.
I was going to say, he would have been a top predator.
His modern
wouldn't he?
relatives are pretty successful at it too. So this animal, if you look at the midsection there, this animal would have been able to eat something 3 times the size of that middle section. So think of something like the size of a Volkswagen Beetle.
Oh my
This
goodness.
animal could have swallowed that.
Wow. And
Pretty
of course,
cool.
the beauty of Sternberg is that not only do you get the display itself, but you also get all of the information associated
Right.
with it that's been put together.
Right. So in addition to our static text panels, there are also sort of interactive videos with the actual researchers and grad students that worked on this. So it's almost like an in-person interview with these guys. It's definitely educational. And if you look around the corner, we've actually got a constrictor a live constrictor in a cage there. So you can kind of get an idea for what this animal was like when it was moving around. Although I'm glad it's not moving around.
Yeah.
Here.
And this guy in the cage would have been an ancestor, probably.
Right.
Of,
Yes, exactly.
Of the Titanoboa.
Right.
Tell us about some of the other summer exhibits that stand out
Okay,
for
well,
you.
you know, actually comparing modern animals to their ancient relatives is actually a good lead into what we've got going on in this next exhibit over here. We've got actually our Ice Age exhibit, and the next exhibit over is what we call Bringing Fossils to Life, and that's modern ties to ancient animals. And what we've got in there is we've got some of our very famous fossils, our mosasaurs, some turtles, and then we've got their modern ancestors. So we have a living monitor lizard, which makes for a very good comparison to some of the mosasaurs. We also have snakes, which are also believed to be one of the modern relatives of mosasaurs. So some of the really famous fossils that we find in our own area. We also have live tortoises in there, along with their fossilized ancestors. So
it's possible to connect ancient animals with their
living,
current
yes.
living
Yes, and
relatives.
it's a very, very unique experience. Not many museums are doing that right now. And it makes the world, the natural world, that much more interactive, you know, that much more fluid.
I wanted to ask you about summer camps too, because
Okay.
this has been a real involvement for young people.
Absolutely, and we are hopping with summer camps. In fact, coming up this weekend, we're starting our Paleontology summer camp, and our education director, David Levering, is actually leading those. So I think he's going to, at least there will be a component of actual field work in there, where he's going to go out, he's going to teach some of these young people sort of the basic methods of paleontology and geology, and hopefully they'll come away with a very, very unique experience. And again, we've got more than just paleontology. We've got biology-related field camps. We've got some geology. We've got, I believe, some herpetology, some insect-related stuff. And that's all available on our website.
Okay, and that website, sternberg.fhsu.edu.
Right.
Easy to find, and further information available there, with summer camps for a lot of different age groups.
Absolutely.
Too, as I
We
understand.
also do in-house programs for ages ranging from pre-K all the way up to elementary school, and we have weekly activities as well as monthly activities lined
What
up.
about some current projects that are underway now for Sternberg? I know
Well-
we talked to Chuck Schmidt a few weeks ago about the bat.
Sure. You know, one of the really valuable things, and I'm not sure that people realize it, is we actually have active science research coming out of here. So, you know, the research that I'm most familiar with, of course, is paleontologically related. So I know we've got a lot of really good work coming out of our paleo department. As you said, there was some bat research coming out of our zoological collections. We also have some interesting stuff coming out of our our insect collection as well as our bird collection. But again, on specifics, I'm not entirely sure because that's not my area. But I can tell you some exciting research is coming out of paleontology regarding mosasaurs, regarding some of the dinosaurs we find in this area, as well as rhinoceros and birds found in the area. So,
it's good to know that Sternberg is continuing this ongoing research,
Right.
because that has certainly been a heart and part of the museum.
Absolutely, and you know, research is important. You know, it's important for us to contribute to that body of knowledge, but it doesn't do much good unless we can bring it to the people of our community. And that's really what the goal of this museum is to share what we're finding, what we're doing, and try to get our community excited about it. This is in your own backyard. That's super cool.
Yeah.
So,
and people from all over the world make stops along Interstate 70
Absolutely.
to see this famous museum.
right. And you know, those of us who live here are lucky that we have this. I grew up in an area where there was not a natural history museum, and I was bored.
All right, tell me about how you got to an interest in paleontology.
Well, I grew up in Washington State, and as I was growing up, I was in first grade in 1980 when Mount St. Helens erupted. And so that was my first real experience of dynamic geology, you know, the earth moving around. That's when I realized that things are constantly in motion. And from there, it kind of led me to an understanding of what we call deep time, which means, you know, we're not talking hundreds or thousands of years, we're talking millions of years, and what the earth and life on earth would have looked like throughout those time periods. And eventually, as I got older, that led me to college, which actually took me out of Washington to Montana State, where I did my undergraduate work. And I studied dinosaurs there for 6 years. I got to work with people like Jack Horner, and that was incredible. And from there, I learned all about terrestrial animals, all about the dinosaurs that were living on land. But what I found out is there was this seaway that was constantly moving. It was getting bigger, it was getting smaller for several million years. And depending on what that ocean was doing, that was what was causing things on land to move. And I thought, wow, if it's got that big of an effect of dinosaurs on land, what is going on inside that seaway? So that's when I came over here to study mosasaurs. So my research,
the central part of the United States
absolutely.
was a major part of that
This
seaway.
place is historically famous. You know, and in fact, when I was studying dinosaurs, I was over at the Royal Ontario Museum, and the curator was very excited about the Sternberg collection of duckbill dinosaurs.
Wow.
And at the time, you know, being from Washington, going to Montana State, I was like, Sternberg? I'd kind of heard of them, but I didn't know. Well, ironically, I ended up working at the Sternberg Museum, and I learned all about the Sternberg family, their contributions to science, and actually, I ended up working on some of the fossils that was collected by George Sternberg and his family. So as I said, my research is all about mosasaurs. I'm interested in what their body temperature may have been. So I've worked for 4 years sampling mosasaurs and doing isotopic analysis to try to come up with some base body temperatures.
I was going to say that deep scientific involvement like that of studying the temperatures could give you a relationship to what was going on outside the animal's body.
Yes. So not only do I have controls on what's going on inside this animal's body, I know what's going on in the seaway. I know how salty it was. I know how cool it was. And it all depends on, you know, whether it was deeper or shallower, saltier or fresher. So, you know, it's a very, very dynamic thing. And sometimes it's tough to nail down. Sometimes you get a little overwhelmed. But it's that excitement of learning about these animals as dynamic beings versus just crusty old fossils. You know, they really were alive and amazing animals. So I think mosasaurs were sort of converging on what whales did, you know, moving from land back to the ocean. And as a result, you know, when you're in water, you're constantly losing body temperature. So they had to come up with some pretty cool ways to keep that body temperature fairly warm.
And every aha moment that you had, David, contributed to the addition of scientific information.
Right. So, you know, the goal is to contribute exhibit-wise as well as to, you know, the peer-reviewed journals that, you know, less people, you know, certainly science community is interested in. But I think my career goal, at least a large component of that, is to bring that hard science to the general public. Because I think we've kind of gone through a period of time where a lot of people think, oh, that's science, that's hard, I can't do that. And really, everybody can do science.
Well, a little movie called Jurassic World didn't hurt, did
No, it doesn't hurt. And You know, it's funny to see people that I used to work with in the background there.
Really?
As I said, you know, Horner, who I used to work with, was a
Because of
scientific-
the authenticity.
Yeah, he was
of
a scientific
the
advisor.
production.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I actually picked people out in that movie. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. You know, so, and then it also doesn't hurt that the mosasaur wins. Right? Oh, spoiler, sorry. You know, at the very end, this big old thing comes out and takes out the scary dinosaur that they created. And I was over the moon.
Oh, my
I finally
goodness.
work on a cool animal.
Yeah.
You know, all of my friends were working
That
on
saves the
dinosaurs.
day.
Yeah, and finally my marine reptile saves the day.
Oh,
So,
my goodness.
Very exciting.
So once again, if you'd like to volunteer for Sternberg Museum, it's IJ Trevethan at, and that's spelled Trevethan at fhsu.edu.
And put in big letters in the heading, interested in being a volunteer. So I know to
Get his
definitely get
attention
on that.
in a hurry. And if you want more information about Sternberg, the exhibits, the hours, the admissions, sternberg.fhsu.edu. Ian, I'm sure we'll be visiting in the future.
I certainly hope so.
Ian Trevethan, our community connection. Thanks for watching.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hayes and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
There's not any words to describe their kindness.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible. Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
They saved my life.